So for example, the avoidant, right? We know an avoidant is used to running away from conflict or running away from high emotional intensity scenarios. So here's what the journey of an avoidant typically looks like. At the start, they want to get a little vulnerable. So, when you first start dating them, they'll show you a lot of interest. The avoidant will be like, yeah, you're so pretty, I love you, maybe even here's flowers, blah, blah, blah. And then you start spending some time together. And then the moment you start getting vulnerable with the avoidant and you're like, oh my God, I really, really like you, or I would love to spend next week with you, or I want to go traveling. God forbid you say, I want you to meet my parents. Any of those things, and then suddenly they're like, whoa, 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 what the fuck is going on right now? And they won't even say it to you in the sense of saying like, hey, this is way too much. They'll just pull back and they'll get really silent. They may ghost you, which is typically, unfortunately, a modern day coping mechanism of an avoidant. Earlier it was just not writing letters, and no one really knew because letters took like a fucking month to arrive anyway, so you don't know, am I getting it, am I not? But today with ghosting and instant communication, we're like, shit, where's my communication? So the avoidant will pull back. Now, what happens if the avoidant in those moments, instead of feeling threatened, they feel threatened by your love? It sounds so fucking crazy, right? You'd be like, why the fuck would anyone be scared of love? Why would someone be threatened by affection and love and connection? The avoidant, the question is like, why would they be so afraid of, love and connection? They must have had to be so hurt around love that anytime that intensity or conversation or connection around love, around emotion, around connection, or around like affection comes up, that it scares the fuck out of them. Have you ever thought about that? And so, my job is obviously to have worked on it, but you ask yourself why? It's because when they were younger, the way they dealt with rejection and abandonment, someone said, okay, so the anxious has abandonment and rejection wounds under the surface. Actually, all of us have the same type of wound. How we show up is different. So you go back down and you see that the avoidant was heavily rejected. But around what? When the avoidant went up to their parent to ask for love, to ask for connection, and in North America it's prevalent, very prevalent around young boys, and I'll tell you why statistically. When they went to ask their fathers for love, typically, or ask their parents for love, especially like I said in North America, boys showing emotions is always considered a sign of weakness. And so when these boys go up to their fathers, many of them who are probably even military vets, Vietnam vets, any of those things, they go up to them. Their fathers are so conditioned to suppress their own emotions and their own love and their own connection so much that when they see a little boy showing up like that, a little child, not necessarily just the boy, showing up like that, they suppress them, shun them, shame them, saying like, oh no, little boys aren't supposed to ask for love, little boys don't ask for hugs, little boys don't care, like cry. Can you imagine, like I was barely hugged as a kid by my father. Even now, my father, I don't think has ever said I love you to me. And so you can imagine how stupid is that, right? For an individual to have a difficult time saying I love you to your own child. But my dad doesn't have a problem saying it to his daughters. He has a problem saying it to me and to my brother, which is really interesting. Because his conditioning keeps telling him that like the boy or the masculine is not meant to feel soft and feel emotions. And that's his wounded conditioning that shows up. So if I wasn't someone who actually did this inner work and worked on my healing, I would absorb the same story. So anytime it came to love and emotions and connections, if a girl came and tried to hug me, I'd be like, oh, this is kind of weird. Like this is kind of awkward. Like I don't really know what to do with love and emotions. And so if someone came and said they loved me or someone wanted me to love them, I'd be like, whoa. My whole life, my dad's been telling me this love thing is dangerous. My dad and my mom have been shaming me around being emotional. Like, I don't think I can really do this. And that's why the avoidants tend to run away, because they receive that level of shaming as a little boy or girl, as little kids who all they wanted was just a big fucking hug. All they just wanted was to feel their like parents holding them so close and loving them. And so unconsciously, that's how their programming, which is their coping mechanism of avoidancy, starts to be created. And so they start to run away from those situations. So when you come in and you, let's say you identify as the anxious, if you identify the anxious, chances are that your desire to express affection is much higher than like, let's say the norm or the secure. And so you're coming in with a very high intensity. They're afraid of any sort of intensity. So both of you are like here. You're supposed to meet midway, but both of you are here. So when you come here, what you're going to do is you're never going to really connect on this point because you're going to be triggering each other being so distant. So the truth is that both parts need to work on their security in that moment, which is why I said before conflict, before discussions, both groups need to have conversations with themselves They need to actually just sit down, regulate themselves, ground themselves, so that when they come to the midpoint, it's so much easier to communicate out of love and not out of your ego. That's the most important, because you're going to your subconscious to change your past and recreate your future. You're changing your belief system from I'm not worthy, oh my God, I'm going to be alone, oh my God, I'm going to be abandoned. You're healing all of those wounds. So now you're coming on a more permanent scale forward to like, I am lovable, I am amazing, I am beautiful, this person's going to love me. But if you don't have access to doing that, you need to do some small temporary stuff, which is regulating your nervous system, calming yourself down, and then you show up so differently in that present moment. Whether that you're an anxious or an avoidant, works the same way. Hey, and welcome to the Inner Yats YouTube page. If you like our content, make sure you click the like and the subscribe button so that you get more of these amazing videos that keep coming your way.